Live from your grave.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the book Graveyard. It's October 2025 still. Halloween time. Covering horror all month long, horror only. We usually cover horror, but horror only. I got another review for you here. That's the back of the book. It's mysterious. It's The Night of the Wolf. Frank Belknap Long, part of the Frankenstein horror series. Put out by Popular Library in 1972. Look at that beautiful cover there. I don't know offhand who did it. I'm going to look it up after this. See if we can't put it in there, if we can find out. Frank Belknap Long was a Weird Tales author. He was part of the, my favorite, the golden era of Weird Tales with his best friend, H.P. Lovecraft. He wrote lots of weird fiction, lots of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and the man lived for quite some time. He was born in 1901 and he died in 1994. He's 93 years old. It's incredible. So The Night of the Wolf is a first-person narrative with our protagonist John. I don't remember them mentioning his last name. He's John the archaeologist. He is the house guest and colleague of Professor Margrave. He is also probably soon to be his son-in-law, as he's dating Margrave's daughter Doris. One morning, while visiting Margrave in his home office, he walks in and sees the body slumped over the desk, gets a closer look, and the man's head is completely bashed in. And when I say bashed in, I mean it is in excruciating, gory detail. Just listen to these Cannibal Corpse-esque poetry that Frank was throwing down in 1972. The entire left side of his head, the side not visible from the door, had been crushed in so hideous a way that the bulge of his forehead had become welded to his cheekbones in a continuous ridge of shattered bone that extended to the tip of his jaw. The flesh of his cheek was shredded as if a buzzsaw had passed down over it, leaving thin flaps of skin dangling from a dozen separate splinters of bone that turned what was left of his features into a horrible red-white disfigurement. And that, my friends, is on the second page. The second page, I was very intrigued from the cover, from it being called the Frankenstein/Dracula horror series. I thought that it was aimed at young adults, maybe not necessarily young adults, but more of a family-friendly horror series. Turns out no. After finding the body, John is like, oh, I gotta go find Doris. He goes find daughter Doris out in the hallway. Honey, I've got some bad news. Dad's been slaughtered. You need to go up and lay down in your bed. I'm going to call the doctor. I'm going to get everything taken care of. Just go upstairs and try to cope with everything. So he's like, calls the doctor. Doctor's on his way. There's other house guests. And they're out swimming at the pool. This is Dan and Helen. A married couple swimming out at the pool. John goes out there. And as he's about to tell Dan, Helen dives off the board and into the pool, and she's not coming up. Dan is like, hold on a second, John, where's my wife? And he freaks out and he jumps in the pool, pulls her up. She was drowning. Apparently some threads, some material was wrapped around her leg, and attached to this material is a broken staff with a wolf's head on the top, just like in the cover. They're untangling her legs, wondering how she would get wrapped up in this. It's almost like they had a mind of their own. What is this thing? How did it even end up in the pool? John is like, in his head, he hasn't told them yet. He's like, oh, obviously this is the murder weapon. Whatever this wolf head staff is, they killed Margrave, and it's shattered when they smashed him over the head. They threw it in the pool on their way out. The doctor shows up. He's pale, he's frightened. He'd passed a mutilated corpse on the way in, on the road in. There's a body with its throat ripped apart. Doctor is visibly shaken. To only come to this house to look at Margrave and see that his head has been shattered. What's going on? They go in the house, and John is like, hey, you know what? We haven't heard from the servants in a while. I better go check on them. So he walks into the kitchen, and it is a bloodbath. There's just blood and guts, blood dripping from the walls, and everyone is open and eviscerated. And yeah, it's a slaughterhouse. So we got 3 more bodies. So now we're up to 5 dead bodies. What in the hell is going on around here? Well, it turns out that Doris, she might have some answers. The cops have finally left. No one did much talking, and Doris kept this one to herself. But when she sees John, she can't help but spill her guts. By the way, John, there was a man who came to visit Dad about a week ago. An Oriental man. And John is a little frustrated with this vague description. There's been all these murders. Oriental, what the hell? He's like, what the hell are you talking about, Oriental? She says, no. He was more Eastern. The man introduces himself as Rushna. He's a man who once worked with her father in Bulgaria. Her father agrees to see him while eavesdropping. Doris overhears the man accuse Margrave of stealing. He's stolen an artifact, and he's brought it back to the United States with him. If he doesn't return it, he's going to die. He threatens him. Not necessarily like him himself. He's just saying, like, I need this back, or you're not going to live to tell the tale. You and your daughter will die. Your house will burn to the ground. And Margrave is like, look, man, I know the artifact of which you speak, but it got lost in shipment. I don't have it. I can't give it to you. I don't know what to tell you. Rushna has no other option but than to storm off angrily. All right, so there we go. There's a little bit of the setup. We got some exciting stuff going on. We got what looks to be an obvious werewolf story. We got some mystery. Who's this mystery man? Who's slaughtering these people? And then we have, just absolute bloodshed. Unfortunately, the pacing here grinds down to like a dreamlike slow punch, even though the plot doesn't. I've never read anything that was like this, where I was so intrigued by what was going on, but so bored at the same time. So let's discuss why that is. Even though this was written in 1972, stylistically, it's very early 20th century. The dialogue is frustrating and awkward, and no matter what is happening, it's like a casual conversation. At one point, one of the characters has been kidnapped. And John and Dan are racing out the door to try to track down, try to catch the kidnapper, try to save the damsel. And as they're going out, they're like, do you have the keys to the car? And he's like, do I have the keys to the car? He's like, I always have the keys to the car. I actually always carry the keys in my pocket. I always carry my keys in my pocket. And then John is like, okay, well, that's good. But I want you to know that this is some urgent stuff here. We need to be quick. We need to be fleet-footed here. It says, even if you trip and scuff your knee, don't worry about it. Just get up and keep going. They're having this conversation outside of the car instead of being in the car driving to save the lady, save the day. It's very frustrating. There's another part where John is remembering the weird backstory, the weird vague backstory of this archaeological dig in Bulgaria. And he's in a cave, and he's like, oh yeah, that's right. I was in that cave in Bulgaria, and I saw a wolf shadow creature. To help me remember this, to help me remember that moment, I'm going to draw this wolf, this werewolf man that I saw. And for 5 pages, he circles around drawing this thing. And it's full of philosophies, thoughts, and how Rembrandt didn't just sit down and create art. Yeah, there was so much more behind it. And instead of just like sitting down and just describing what you saw, describing this werewolf, it is torture. It is torture. It'll have you screaming at the book. Just draw the fucking werewolf already. Just draw the fucking werewolf. Anyway, speaking of backstory, there really isn't one, other than kind of what they vaguely state, where they're on an archaeological dig in Bulgaria, and it's Margrave and John, and I guess the Rushna guy is there, but John doesn't remember him being there. They don't say what they were digging for, what they found. Did they find the staff there? Why doesn't Margrave mention the staff to John? Was it even the staff? What's the artifact they're looking for? Why does it mean anything to the Rushna guy? What does he have to do with anything? Is the man cursed? Is he a werewolf? Is it part of his, I don't know, he works for the government? Anything, any kind of information, you get nada. So let's say it is the staff. The staff is broken and in the pool right at the beginning, like page 3. Why does the werewolf keep attacking the remaining members of the household? Is the werewolf looking for the staff? Because the staff's right there. And who threw it in the pool? Who threw the staff in the pool? I don't know. I don't know. There is a couple scenes where the werewolf is a black cloud of smoke that just appears in your room. Just a puff of smoke appears, and then it shapes into the form of a werewolf with a wolf head, and it can kind of attack. And then it also psychokinetically starts fires in the house. All right, so if you still plan on reading this book, this is a spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you who the werewolf is. It's no big surprise. Nothing in this book really is a big surprise. It's the Rushna guy. It's just as it seems. And at the end, he is killed with a silver bullet, and he morphs back into a human being. But it says that he's a dwarf, which he was not a dwarf before. He was just a regular sized guy. So I don't know why the Rushna guy went from a normal guy to a werewolf, and now he's a dead dwarf. So I don't complain about stuff like this. It usually doesn't matter to me. I'm reading Pulp Fiction. I love it because it's fun. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense in every aspect of the story. But this is just a complete, like, muddled mess. It's been raining all day. They go out to track the werewolf into the woods, and they find footprints in the dust and the dry leaves. I mean, it was raining like 3 pages ago. What are you talking about, the dust and the dry leaves? What are you talking about, man? So you take that kind of stuff, and then you add to it the fact that they don't really go from point A to point B in a straight line. And then you take the strange, inactive dialogue, and it is just a slog, man. It just makes this book such a slog. All right, that's enough. That's enough hating on it. I want to throw some positive things in there because, I mean, this is Frank Belknap Long, man. This is like Weird Tales royalty we're talking about. This is Lovecraft's best friend we're talking about here. So let's show him some love. Obviously, the gore poetry, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and probably the most gruesome body mutilated scenes I've ever seen written. It's incredible. It's incredible. I couldn't believe that this 71-year-old man wrote this kind of stuff. The plot is, I mean, yeah, it's cliched and it's been done to death, but it's really pulpy, and it is really fun. It is almost like how I described it, where it was kind of like a family friendly horror. That's kind of what I was expecting, and that's kind of what the plot was. There's a million holes, but it was very simple but very enjoyable. It's just something that you didn't really have to think about if it didn't confuse you so much as it went along. And then when there is action, when there is werewolf attacks, when there is fights, it's on point. It's good, it's entertaining. You just have to ignore the meandering dialogue that goes along with it. Frank Belknap Long lived to be 93 years old. He wrote this when he was 71, so it's not going to deter me from going to read any of his past output. I still have lots of weird tales that I haven't gotten to yet that have stories by him. I have his collected stories in paperback, and I'm sure that they're wonderful. I just think at this time, he didn't really have much left in him. Also, this is like, 72, and I think of all the horror that was coming out then. It was kind of like this, kind of all that Satan stuff, Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, that kind of stuff. And he didn't change with the time. I mean, you're 71 years old, you're not changing with the times, you're doing what you know. And he's writing this really antiquated style of horror, of a horror story. And I just think that the distance of the time frame wasn't far enough away to where it's something that's like appealing and vintage in style like it is now. Like when we read it, like, oh, this is that style. It's very romantically classic horror. But in 1970, it's only like 30 years apart, so it's not really that special yet. Unfortunately, like around this time, right after this era, I think he just ran out of steam, and he couldn't get any more writing jobs, and probably for this reason, and that he lived his last years in like extreme poverty. It was just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to read that, to see that, and see pictures of him old and 90, and like he's got long hair and a beard, and you just imagine the poor guy struggling, him and his wife, and not getting what his dues that he absolutely deserved. And it breaks my heart to slam this book so hard, but it just was not good. It was so not good. It was a slog and a half. So Frank Belknap Long, we're sorry. You're still awesome. You're still awesome in our book. And that's it for today. And I'm out of here.